So if the Rugby Championship isn't happening next year, what about future years? What does competition look like between Argentina, Australia, New Zealand and South Africa moving forward in the longer term? It's a question that I've been asking. It's a question I asked on the video only the other day. And as if by magic, we now potentially have some flesh on the bones, courtesy of, let me get it up so you can have a look. There it is, courtesy of Paul Cully of the Sydney Morning Herald. Top work, Paul. I appreciate your work. Because Paul Cully has outlined what he believes the proposals may be, and I have to stress, this is not official, this is not ratified, this is not concrete, this is suggested proposals about what competition will look like between the four Southern Hemisphere giants moving forward. My overwhelming thought when I read this, and I'll go through it with you, but my overwhelming thought on this was, it's confused. It's doesn't really work for me. There's elements I like, but overall, nah. But I'm not just going to pick holes. I am going to make suggestions, which you never know. Sanzar, I was going to say they might watch, and I know Sanzar watch this channel. Hi, Sanzar. Hi. I know they watch because they took down one of my videos the other day. So thanks very much for watching, Sanzar. Hit subscribe, give the video a thumbs up, and leave your thoughts down below. I'll make some suggestions about what I think Sanzar should or could do moving forward. We'll see. But here is what the plan is, according to Paul Cully of the Sydney Morning Herald. These are not official, but suggested. So next year, we know there is going to be a series between South Africa and New Zealand in South Africa, a 3-match series with the All Blacks playing midweek games against the URC teams, and then a potential 4th test match in Europe. And if it's in Europe, quite possibly in London, which on the face of it, I should be thinking, well, that's awesome. That's a game that's a couple of hours from where I live. I'll be able to get to that really easily, and I will. At the same time, because as I said on the video the other day, 2 things can be true at the same time. Like, for example, I'm really looking forward to the greatest rivalry series between South Africa and New Zealand, and also at the same time, I feel bad that the Rugby Championship is kind of being blown up or changed or devalued or whatever the case may be. 2 things can be true at the same time. It would be awesome to have a game very, very close to where I am. However, a 4th game, does that feel like overkill a little bit? You can't have too much of a good thing, can't you? It's like sugar. It's lovely, isn't it? Until you have too much of it and then you feel a bit sick. So, how would you feel at the end of the extra test match in London next year if it happens there? How would you feel if it ended 2-2 between the 2 teams? I'm not 100% convinced. But anyway, that's a totally separate point. We know that is happening next year. We don't know what Australia and Argentina are going to do. Maybe they'll play each other. That would be pretty cool. As for the years after that, well, 2027, a Rugby World Cup year, so it's going to be a slimmed-down version of the Rugby Championship. Presumably, teams playing each other once. Maybe Australia and New Zealand play each other twice, as they tend to do in Bledisloe Cup fashion. And then 2028, there would be no Rugby Championship, and instead, there would be tours between these 4 teams. So 3 test tours, and again, as I've already said, 3 is a good number for a tour, for a series. 4, maybe not so much. 3 test series, 2 of them. So the 6 games that happen in the Rugby Championship at the minute would be replicated by 6 games. There'd be less travelling, and you would get an old school tour feeling, which isn't going to be happening anymore with the Northern Hemisphere sides coming to the South because of the Nations Cup, which also starts next year. So you're not going to get a 3-test series of England in New Zealand or Ireland in South Africa. That's just not going to happen moving forward. So I quite like these 3-test tours, actually. I think they're pretty cool. And I'm up for it. You get the same amount of games, less travelling, and you get a decider. Like, for example, at the minute, how good would it be, and how much after the games last weekend would you have loved to be able to look forward to a deciding test match the following weekend when it was 1-1 between the All Blacks and the Box, and it was 1-1 between Australia and Argentina? So I quite like the 3-match tour idea. So that would happen in 2 blocks. So, for example, in 2028, South Africa play Argentina in South Africa, 3 matches. Australia play New Zealand in Australia for 3 matches. And then Argentina host New Zealand and Australia host South Africa. That'd be pretty cool. Then 2029, to complete the 4-year cycle from where we are now, you would have a full Rugby Championship tournament, just like the one we've had this year. So just putting it in a graphic, that's what it looks like, and I'll go through it again. Next year, no Rugby Championship. South Africa and New Zealand doing their own thing. Who knows about Australia and Argentina? 2027, a slim, stripped-back version of the Rugby Championship. 2028, the 3 test tours. 2029, a full Rugby Championship. 2030, no Rugby Championship, and South Africa go to New Zealand, and then on we go. It's confused, isn't it? Like, hasn't that... There's an element where I think you just have to pick a lane, decide what you want to do, and stick to it. That is going to devalue the Rugby Championship, I think, to the point that it's almost worthless. 2029 would be the next time after this year when you would have a proper Rugby Championship, where the team that earns it really feel like they can celebrate having come out on top. Because the one in 2027 is going to happen just before a World Cup, so that devalues it by its very nature because you're preparing for a World Cup. The Rugby Championship isn't the be-all and end-all right then, and you're only playing home or away against these teams. That means one team gets 2 home games, so it kind of... It doesn't feel like the Rugby Championship. So you're only really going to have the Rugby Championship as we know it every 4 years. It's like you would be being Jabba the Hutt putting Han Solo in carbonite with the Rugby Championship. You cryogenically freeze it and get it out again in 4 years' time. It's not the World Cup. So I don't think that works. So I think as an absolute minimum, but I also really like the old school tour idea in 2028 and 2026 and 2030. Those are going to be dynamite. Those tours between South Africa and New Zealand. And as I've already mentioned, we're not getting the old-fashioned tours with the Northern Hemisphere and Southern Hemisphere teams anymore, which is a real shame. That's one of the reasons I went last year to South Africa to watch Ireland in South Africa, because I recognised with the Nations Cup coming on board, this would be the last time that there'd be the chance to do it, to see something like that. And that was only a 2-test series that finished 1-1 again. How much did we want a decider between Ireland and South Africa last year? So what I would propose is simpler and more like that. You find a way, even in a World Cup year, to do the Rugby Championship properly, and you do it every 2 years. So then it becomes a biannual, is that the right word? A biannual competition. Every 2 years, the Rugby Championship. Every 2 years, old school style tours, which would be every 4 years, South Africa and New Zealand doing their greatest rivalry thing, and presumably Argentina and Australia can find something cool to do. And then in 2028, it would be the 4 Sanzar teams kind of rotating between themselves. That feels a little bit simpler, doesn't it? But that depends on doing the Rugby Championship properly, even in World Cup years, which I think must be doable. There must be a way. This all, of course, comes back round to the old point that I talk about a lot, which is that we need to bang some heads together and get the people running rugby to sit around a table and recognise there is no perfect system that is going to please everybody, but there is one, well, it's not going to please all the individual unions in the short term, but with long-term vision, something where there is a global calendar and everyone's interests aligned, that there's got to be compromises made. Some turkeys have got to vote for Christmas in order to make this work. And if you don't do things like that, that's why... And whether it works or not remains to be seen. But that's why things like this R360 idea are going to keep coming around, because at the top in rugby, the administrators just can't get it all sorted. And I can't help thinking that if that is how it happens, that would be another example of it. It would be confused. It would not build the tradition of the Rugby Championship. And in which case, just don't bother doing it. Either do the Rugby Championship properly every 2 years, or don't do it at all, would be my suggestion. Maybe go all the way down the old school tours thing if you didn't want to do the Rugby Championship. But there's a few thoughts of mine anyway. And again, it's all based on the information which has come through the Sydney Morning Herald, which we don't know if that is exactly what's going to happen yet or not. So I'm just speculating and throwing out some ideas based on the new information, which may or may not be accurate, or may not be the way it pans out. We will wait and see. But yeah, a little bit of a crossroads for the 4 countries in the Southern Hemisphere, isn't it? I can't imagine they would ever tamper with the Six Nations like this. And you only build that kind of history and that emotional connection over a long period of time of doing things the same and honouring the traditions. So I think having built the Rugby Championship up into something good, and this year being better than ever, it would be a shame to lose it. But if you want to lose it in favour of doing the old school tour thing, then just go down that route 100%. Because I think people would be on board with that as well. But if you try and please everybody, you'll end up pleasing nobody. That would be my summary of this one. Let me know what you think. I think this one's got a long way to go, and there'll be more videos for sure as we get more information. I'll see you on the next one.